I'd like to introduce you to our brand new dovetail joinery vise. This vise is compact, it's portable, and it can attach to any work surface. This vise would be the perfect addition to any shop that didn't have a traditional workbench with a vise, because it could provide a world of work holding possibilities. So this vise would be nothing without these Microjig Matchfit grip clamps. These things make it work, and I'll show you how that plays out as we go along in the video. So let me go ahead and show you how to set this up, and I'll show you how to use it during some common workshop operations. So as you can see, the vise is two parts. It's got this L-shaped back fence, has a base that attaches to your workbench or your work surface. It's got a couple holes in it. These accept the Matchfit clamps, and then in the back are a couple of knobs that secure the clamps in place. And then this is the front movable vise jaw that I'll show you how that works. So first thing we got to do is we got to attach it to our work surface. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to attach it to the surface, and I'm going to let it hang over about an inch. That works perfectly, and you can use any clamp here you'd like. You can use C clamps, you can use F-style clamps, everything works well. Then I take my Matchfit grip clamps and I drop it in the hole in the bottom and I tighten the knob. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So now I have both clamps installed. Now I need to remove these anti-mar pads. And what this does is this allows this jaw to now slip over the top of the clamps, and these two brackets grip the clamps nicely. Now what I have is I have a movable jaw that can move in and out simply by pressing the release lever on the clamps, get it to where I want it, and then I can apply up to 150 pounds of pressure per clamp. So now this is in place and this is ready to go. So let me show you how I use it for dovetailing, and I'll show you some of the cool features. First of all, you can just, you can clamp any board on its, vertical or horizontal, but I'm going to show you how I do dovetailing. So I always start with my pins first, and I would take my vise and I would clamp my board down. Then I could mark out my dovetails, I could saw them, I could cope them, I could do all that stuff with the piece attached to my vise. Then this is where the vise really shines, is when you want to transfer marks from the tail board to the pin board. So I'll install my pin board in the vise here, clamp it down, and I install it just a little proud because it's going to get pushed down. And then I put my pin board on top. Now I take one of my grip clamps and I'll slide it in from the end, and I will put pressure down from the top. Now this keeps this board in place while I transfer my lines, because there's nothing worse than having your piece shift around while you're transferring lines, because that'll just ruin your dovetail. And then also you notice that this front jaw is just a little bit lower than the back jaw. This allows me to visually see if these two parts are perfectly lined up. So this is one of the greatest features of it, is transferring lines from one part to another. Another thing you can do, this is kind of interesting, is if you want to do it, add a little more precision to your transferring of marks, you can make a little alignment board. This is simply an L-shaped piece of wood that has a couple dowels in it that holds it in place, and it's got some of the Matchfit hardware here. And this slides in the bottom groove in the jaw, like this, like so. And now this gives me a perfect 90-degree edge that I can line up both my parts to. So I can line up my pin board here, and or my tail board here, and I could line up my pin board here, and I could get them lined up perfectly. And then what I do is I just drop some clamps in here, and I hold my parts in place. So this could be something that could really add a lot of precision to your layout marks. So this is fantastic. So those are a couple things you can do with dovetailing. Let me show you some other things that you can do when it comes to work holding. One thing that you'll notice is that these jaws, let me get these back installed again. Got to get them put back together. It goes together very quickly, as you can see. This is very easy to transform from one operation to another. So now I have my clamps in here, on my front jaw here. You'll notice that this thing cants a little bit, which most vices don't. So this is a nice feature to have if I want to do something like hold a tapered part, like this leg here. I can take this leg and I can drop it in here and I can hold it very securely and it's not going to go anywhere. So that's fantastic. So another thing that this works well in is not only dovetailing, but there's times where I need to make a joint that's 90 degrees and I need it to be perfect. And I don't want it to move while the glue dries. And that happens a lot, especially if I'm putting fasteners in. Sometimes when I drive my screws in, the parts will tend to shift around. But I can put one piece in, my vertical piece, and I can drop my horizontal piece in here, and then I can use my clamp, one of my Matchfit clamps, and I can put pressure from the top and I can hold this piece exactly at 90 degrees. It's not going to shift when I screw it or dowel it. That's how I made this little part here, is I put it together, put it in my vise, and I drilled my holes and I installed my Miller dowels, and this thing is perfectly 90 degrees. So that's another great feature of the vise that you can use. Another thing that works well with is it will hold wide boards. Obviously, you can hold wide boards either on the end like this, or you can do it on the side. But there's a limitation in the vise, and that is the distance between these two beams is 13 3/4. So what do you do if you want to hold a board that's wider than the distance between these beams? Well, I just take off my front jaw and I'll remove my clamps here, and I will slide my clamps in now from the side, and I'll slide another clamp in from the side, and I do have to put on my anti-mar pads here, so I can put those on and they kind of go on pretty snug. Okay, and now I can take a wider board and I can drop it in here and I can hold that board nicely. So I pinch it here and I pinch it here. So the width of this back jaw is 18 inches, so you could realistically clamp a board that's an inch wider on each end and hold it nice and securely. So now this board is held nicely in place. So a couple things you can do to modify the vise if you'd like to make it even better. It comes unfinished, and we left it that way by design because we felt it gripped the wood better. You could put a finish on it, but I would advise against anything like a film finish, like lacquer or varnish or shellac, because it would make it more slick. One thing I did to this one is I took these faces, this face of the vise and the inside face here, and I scuffed it up with 80 grit sandpaper, and it increased the gripping power tremendously. You could also install a piece of cork rubber on the movable jaw, and that would increase the gripping power by a lot. So there you have it, portable, compact, dovetail joinery vise. You can pick it up from our website, thetaytools.com. I'll put some links in the description below for where you can pick up the vise. You can pick up these grip clamps. You can also pick up some of these brackets here that you could use with these grip clamps for, I don't know, whatever application you can think of. I'll put a link in there for some of that cork rubber as well. So thanks for watching. Happy dovetailing.